So as I talked about in the intro to this podcast, today's episode is going to be all about training to failure, when to do it, when not to do it, why is it a good and bad idea. Personally, for 90% of the time, I think training to absolute failure is a bad idea. And what I mean by absolute failure is, I suppose the simple example is if you're doing a bench press and you get the barbells, you're going up and down, and all of a sudden your reps they start getting slower in terms of the rep going up, back down. You're trying to push as hard as you can, but it's not as smooth as that first rep, and then you get that one rep too many where you go up a little bit and you can't go up anymore, and you gotta hope there's a spotter or someone there with you to get that bar up off your chest, because you just don't have it in your body. You don't have the strength anymore to push that barbell up. Now, obviously, that's a bad idea for more than one reason. The most obvious one is you don't want to be crushed by those weights in your chest. So you don't want to train to absolute failure for that reason. But let's just say you did train to absolute failure there, and let's just say you had a spotter there that was able to lift that barbell up. Because you exerted so much energy to try and get that barbell up and you couldn't do it, that session is probably going to be pretty much done for you at that stage. You're probably not going to be able to do that much more. You're going to need a lot of recovery time, but you're probably going to feel just fried right there and then, and you're not going to be able to work as hard for the rest of the session. So while you did get the absolute most out of that set, all the other sets that you had planned for that session, you can no longer do. So you didn't get as much benefit out of the gym as you did there. And because you trained to absolute failure on that set, you could be really sore the next day and even the day after, because you just use so much muscle fibers to try and get that barbell, and like your body is just like, I need to get this off me any way I can, otherwise I'm going to get crushed by it. And even with that thought in your mind, you still couldn't lift that barbell up. That means you recruit so many muscle fibers to that, so much wear and tear in the body, that it's going to take a lot longer to recover from that. Definitely days, you're going to be sore, dommed up afterwards, and it could mean missed sessions. So you got to train smarter. If every set you did went to failure, you wouldn't be able to train much longer in the gym, and that's it. So, and we talked about in the intro as well, the first few weeks, holding 3-4 reps in the tank, just getting back used to doing the exercise, and you're going to get that adaptation there because you're doing something you're not used to doing. It's almost like being a beginner again in the gym, and beginners should never really train to failure until, we're going to talk about in a second, till they find out what that failure point is. But just getting used to doing the exercises, keeping safe first and foremost. The first and foremost thing is not getting better, it's keeping safe. It's building that habit and consistency of always going to the gym and staying safe throughout it. The results will come later and we'll be able to add on to it from there, but that should be the start. So if you are going to train to failure, you're going to be fried, you're not going to be able to do much more in the gym, and what's the point there? You should 99% of the time leave 1 to 2 reps in the tank, so you're able to get back to the next set and keep building from there. And one of the ways to do that is to build up to a working set, to one working set. What I mean by that is, let's take the bench press again. You do your couple of warm-up sets, and you might do 6 reps at 80 kg, for example. Let's just throw out numbers there. 6 reps at 80 kg, and you might throw on a bit of weight. You might do 5 reps at 90 kg and feel like, oh, that felt good. So you might throw on a bit more reps, and you might get 3 reps. That could be a working set. Your 3 reps at 100 kilo, for example. If you're working towards a 3 rep max, you could do towards that. Or you could just do your 8 reps at one weight, and then add a bit more weight and get your reps there. Add a bit more weight and get your reps there, and just build up so you have that one really hard working set where you're near your absolute limit, and that way you'll be able to find out where your failing point is without actually going to failure. Because you might lift 90 kilos at 5 reps and be like, is that my failure point? Could I lift any more? If you can lift 5 reps at 90, you'll probably be able to lift 1 or 2 reps at 100. Like you definitely be able to lift at least 1. So you should take, or maybe 95 kilo to play it safe. You'll definitely be able to lift at least one rep at that. So add your weight, get your minute or 2 rest, go right back at it, lift your one rep, see how it felt. If it felt good, maybe try that second, and go from there. You don't even know until you're in that situation how many reps you could do before you're at all out failure on that one. So working up to a 1 set is one way of finding out your failure. Sometimes you need to. I talked about it before on the podcast how having training partners was a good stimulus for finding out how much weight you can lift. Like I was doing, like I talked about, I was doing one arm rows at the 25 kilo, and my mate was like, "Well, what are you doing for 8 reps?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's my limit," because that was just my limit in my mind that I'd seen absolute tanks lifting 30. I'm like, I knew I'm not there, so my 25 kilo was my limit, and I wasn't really in gyms where you had 30, 35, 40 and stuff. He's like, "Here, try the 30s," and I was like, "I'm not gonna be able to do 30s." He's like, "Try the 30s." I'm like, "Okay, I'll try the 30s." And I tried the 30s and I was able to do it. I'm like, whoa, that could work with the one rep. The previous thing I was talking about, had I had worked up my one set rep, my one set max, had I worked up to that back then, had I known about that previous technique I just talked about, maybe I could have done that and build up to it rather than going 25. That's it. I'm not going to do any more than that, and just add a bit more weight in. But sometimes you might have to keep pushing until you hit that failure point, so you know what true failure is. Yeah, I wouldn't do it in your first couple of weeks. Maybe after a 5 or 6 week block of doing a certain amount of exercises, maybe try it then, and working towards a not even a 1 rep max, a 3 rep max, and just testing yourself a little bit. As long as you know a couple of days later you're gonna have to take that recovery period, test yourself towards, so you know where that true failing point is, because we might feel like we've only got 1 or 2 reps left in the tank. Whereas if we pushed ourselves and someone was watching over, you might have had 3 or 4 reps. And finding that balance can be hard, especially if you're new enough to training. So you kind of have to put yourself out there. I know I'm saying don't train to failure, but every once in a while, you do need that testing point where you need to push yourself that little bit harder just to see where that failure point is. The problem though with always doing that and always training to failure is it's going to mess your form up, especially on the bigger exercises. You're especially doing barbell squats. I wouldn't do anyway. That's personally for me. That's not saying barbell squats are bad, but just personally for me, I wouldn't. But especially doing something like that to fail, that back's gonna round, and your body's gonna get that barbell up any way it can. And if you're always doing that, you're sacrificing form, and sacrificing form ignores the first point which I talked about earlier, which is safety. The first thing you want to be doing in the gym is keeping safe. Your health is number one thing to get through the workout. After that, everything comes there. And if you're always training to failure, that ignores the health and safety part. So that's a major reason why I wouldn't always train to failure, unless you're very, very experienced and you're fine tuned your body, knowing exactly where that failure point is, so you can just avoid it and you're not fried for your next session. The caveat to all that is the smaller exercises, your bicep curls or tricep push downs, those kind of things can be trained to failure because they're smaller muscle groups. You're not recruiting as many muscles into it, and you're able to recover a lot quicker because you're only using those smaller muscle groups. So I mean, going for drop sets to failure on like tricep push downs, or running the rack on bicep curls, that kind of stuff, that's great, and that's a great burner for the end of the session, because they're usually some form of finisher, and then after that then you're done. Whereas the bigger exercises, doing the drop sets to failure, there's more room there for injury, so you got to look at the risk reward in that. Whereas the likelihood of you getting injured doing a drop down set on a tricep push down, or biceps, or something along with the smaller muscle groups is very slim in comparison to the bigger muscle groups. It's also one of the reasons that I'm not a huge fan of CrossFit, because they do the workouts today and they have these complicated technical exercises, cleaning presses and all the rest. We're working towards failure. Now, the elite athletes and the people you see on Netflix building up to that and doing that, and they're still keeping the perfect form doing that, they're unbelievable athletes, not taking anything away from them whatsoever. But if you're only starting to get into CrossFit and you're doing these advanced exercises working to failure, I think that's a very, very bad idea. That's going to lead to injury. And they're so technical, these exercises. I'm going on a little bit of tangent here, but like, the more technical the exercise, the less you should be working to failure on. Any sort of Olympic lift should not be working to failure on at all, in my opinion. It just opens yourself up to injury. And the more tired you get, the more injured you're going to, the more likelihood of you getting injured is going to happen. It's like, if you take a sport, most mistakes are made in the last 15 minutes because people are more fatigued. That's always like last minute winners and stuff like that. and obviously take a chance and stuff as well. But it is because people are tired in those last 15 minutes that mistakes happen and goals get created through that. If we're taking football, for example, in that one, I forget my whole point in that. Yes, it's because of fatigue that mistakes are made. So if you are lifting heavier, these technical weights, you can't be as switched on thinking about form, going towards failure and keep pushing yourself. There's so many different things going on that something's going to give, it's going to lead to injury, and you got to think about why you're doing that in the first place. So, and that's why some people, if you are training hard, working up towards one set and all the rest, one way of doing it is on your Monday doing that, and then maybe a Tuesday you're going a little bit lighter, and then Wednesday or Thursday having that hard day again, and then maybe the Thursday or Friday going a little bit lighter, and spreading your 4-day week, if you're going to gym 3-4 times a week, spreading through that. And I suppose, since I talked about running at the start, it's the exact same with running. Every run is not going to be a hard run. Like, you're going to have different paces on it. So you might have, Monday might be your threshold run, where if you're doing an 8k, when it gets that 6-7 8k, you're looking forward towards the end. You might have a recovery run the next day where it's a lot lighter, and you're just thinking about technique, you're thinking about breathing, you're just getting miles on the legs. And then on the Wednesday or Thursday, you might be going for your interval runs, where you're going for your hard run, but at the same time you're going for that hard 400 meter 800 meter, whatever it is. When you do that, you're taking a long recovery, and then you're going again. You're building up to it in your warm-up, you're getting your 1-2k warm-up in, 8 hard interval sprints, but long rests in between. What you're not doing is sprinting and then 30-second rest, sprinting, 30-second rest, sprinting, because your first interval is going to look nothing like your last interval on that. And then the more intervals you do like that, the tired you get, the shittier your form gets. You're going to increase your chance of getting injured. So always weigh up the risk and reward on doing any exercise, especially when you're training towards failure. We're 2-3 weeks back into the gym now. Now's the time to be setting goals. What are you doing in the gym? What are you working towards? I know, anything could happen in terms of second wave with lockdown, anything like that, but we can't be concentrating on that. We can't be thinking negatively like that. That could happen, but even if it does, even if you're striving towards goals and you can't hit them because the second wave or anything like that comes in, at least you're going to be healthier. At least you're going to be mentally healthier as well. You're working towards something, and that's going to keep you motivated coming back to the gym. So the first 2-3 weeks, we're approaching near the end of now, that should be all about your consistency, building up good habits, consistently getting back to the gym, setting times that suit your new lifestyle right now, if you have been going back to work in the last couple of weeks. And for some of us, you could be working all the way through and lifestyle might not have changed at all, and hopefully you're just hammering that home. But now the gym's back open, it's getting your time. And if you're struggling with your times, get back to the gym, look at your lifestyle, be realistic with it, and say to yourself, what day can I make the gym? What time can I make the gym? What am I going to be doing in the gym? Building that plan, start simple, slowly build up. So after 2-3 weeks, you've got the habit of always going to the gym at that time. Even if you're not doing much in the gym, even if you're doing just a little bit, just having that new atmosphere again. Because I know some people I've been talking to over the last 2-3 weeks, they're like, Sean, trying to do the at-home workouts. I mean, I was sitting on my living room table, I'm on Zoom doing conference calls and stuff all day, and then to the left of me, that's where I had my dinner, and to the right of me is where I'm doing a workout. I'm like, oh my, that is madness. Like, even this room I'm in right now is the room where I did all my online stuff, on my Zoom workouts and all the rest. I was lucky enough where I am right now, that the only time I came into this room was when I had a workout to do or a podcast to do with some form of work. Dinner was not in this room. Anything else wasn't in this room. I was lucky enough with that. So I had that little bit of created that kind of little atmosphere for myself, but a lot of us didn't, and I'm just very thankful that I wasn't in an apartment, because I don't know how I would have coped, to be honest with you. I'm going off on a mad tangent right there on that one, but the bottom line is, build the habits, get back in, don't train towards failure, but find out where that failure point is. So you got to work hard, but work smart in the gym. That's it for me. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Coach on Fitness podcast. Probably this week's episode, actually. I'm not too sure I'll get another episode in this week. I was banging out the podcast episodes when we were in that 3.5 month of lockdown, but I'll probably go back to once a week, maybe twice a week, but I don't want to hold myself to that. So hopefully every Monday will be a new episode of the podcast. That's what I'm building towards my routine right now. Every Monday afternoon, recording this, getting it out to you guys sometime at least before the evening commute home. Let me know if you're enjoying these episodes of podcast or there's something else you'd like to hear about. Drop us a DM on Instagram at coach_Sean C. Or if you guys had the time, I'd really appreciate if you wrote up a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, so it helps me get the word out there. Just even, I know it's ego, but even seeing the extra downloads and stuff coming in just helps me know that I'm doing something good with this podcast. Keeps me motivated to keep doing these episodes of the podcast. So it is for you guys. It's also for me to get used to doing these type of things, but it is for you guys as well to get a bit more of it. So do Instagram me, do email me, Sean@coachseanc.com on anything you'd like to hear more or less of the podcast. And now I'm definitely going to wrap it up here. Thank you again for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. Coach Sean, take care. Now that wasn't a hard video to get through now, was it? I hope you guys got some value out of the video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to Coach Sean's channel, which is somewhere here. And hit that button, subscribe to Coach Sean's channel, leave a thumbs up. There should be a couple of other videos around here for you guys to check out. And that's all from me, Coach Sean. Take care.